there. They'd ask me to take something to someone else. You know, I've done that in the building, and I didn't even realize what I was doing. I was just delivering, you know, thinking, hey, they asked me to take this down.
Some of these little boys I knew were bad news. He didn't, but I knew. This house that we live in now used to belong to my parents. And then when my father passed, the house was just too much for my mother to handle. So my sister, my brother, myself, we all moved out here to live with my mom. And together we made it a community home, which is what, you know, quite often happens when people are trying to, you know, get out of a bad situation. Right after, about a year after my accident, I realized that I would not be the same. And I went on disability. And disability gave me $1,000. It was, at that time, it was like $900 a month. I had 3 children. They gave me $900 a month for me, and they gave me $122, I think, for each child. Keep in mind, that's to pay my rent. I had food stamps, but it wasn't a lot, so a lot of times we would run out of food stamps.
It's not that much stuff in here anymore.
Yeah, but it's not as organized as it should be. The whole world is seeing. Giving my children hope, that was the hard part, because they went to a private school, so they lived with all these people who were very well off, who drove nice cars, whose parents were giving them credit cards to spend carte blanche. And then they came back here, and I'm saying, nope, we don't buy name brand gym shoes. Nope, we're not going out to eat. We gotta do whatever mama's got to cook. It was disappointing from a mother's point, because I wanted to give them the best, and I always thought when I had my children I was going to be able to shower them. That was my desire, as I think most parents. That was my desire, but I wasn't able to do that.
I was born and raised in this little town called Davant, Louisiana, in 1945. Just about everyone in this community had done fishing of one type or another, either crab fishing, shrimping, or oystering, at least part-time. It was a wonderful way to make a living. God gave us a heaven here, a gold mine. It was there for the taking. Anyone that wanted to make a good, honest living could do it. All they needed was a strong back and a little bit of brains. No matter what time of year it was, you were either shrimping, crabbing, dredging oysters. A person that didn't have any work could come to this marina, go by the conveyors where they were unloading in the evening, and hey, I need a job. Okay, show up here tomorrow morning. You had a job. The people of this area, this entire area, depend on the environment. They depend on what God gave us. And God gave us a lot down here, but we didn't know how to take care of it.
Dust of fallen empires slowly flowing through my hands.
Had someone told me 10 years ago that this place would be this dormant, I'd never believe it. I never would have believed it. But it's happened, and it's happened so quickly. It's just unimaginable. I don't know if it's because of the the natural disaster that we had with Katrina or the oil spill, the natural resources are not there anymore. The coastline is washing away. There's places that when I was in high school, we used to go out and hunt rabbits, and now those places don't exist. They're all water. They're gone, completely gone. It's a minimum, or an average of 3 years before that oyster's ready for the market to be harvested. Next year there'll be no oysters. For 3 years there won't be any oysters. And this year we had a very low harvest of shrimp. So what's going to happen? I don't know. I don't have any confidence in the future. Unless we get a drastic change, a sudden change in the amount of seafood and the prices, there's no way that I can continue to do this and survive with it. Because all I am doing now is losing money, you know? Just can't do it. The numbers don't add up. They just don't add up. Okay. I don't worry about myself that much. It's only just me and Bonnie. We'll survive. But my children, I worry about my children. This community, I've seen a change not only with income, but I can see a change in the people. The people that are still here are not happy anymore. The people were always jolly. They didn't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow was taken care of. And now everyone's worried. They're all stressed. Catholic Charities was here up until last week paying people's utilities for them. They couldn't pay them. And now they're gone. They left last week. So a lot of these families that were dependent on that, they don't even have that now. So in this great United States, believe it or not, we're gonna have people down here that are gonna have their electricity cut off. And they're gonna be living that way. I hope that it gets better. But deep down inside, being realistic, I don't see it. It's just a culture, the whole culture is gone.
Poverty is struggling to make things work. When you have to struggle paycheck to paycheck, that's poverty. You try to fight yourself out of it, but you can't. You can't. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, with my two sisters and my brother, my mother, and my father, until my father decided to just leave the house and leave us by ourselves, which hurt my mother mentally, and got her unstable. We would have never survived if welfare didn't approve us and we were getting food stamps every month. And no, me by myself, I wouldn't have been able to do it, and I had to give up going to college. Went down to the racetrack in New York City with a friend of mine, started hot walking horses coming off the track, and that's where I started working, which was at the racetrack, and turned around and did it for 22 years. It was every day, 365 days a year, and that was it. There was never a day off. I came here to North Carolina after I stopped working at the racetrack, and when you come off of that, everybody's like, okay, so what skill do you have? It's like, you really don't. You know, I had a skill of putting horses on the racetrack. I was in the shelter 3 months. It's a hard thing because North Carolina, the unemployment rate is 9.4. It's one of the highest in the United States. Being in the shelter, I wasn't ashamed of it. I did it on my own. I wasn't there because I used drugs, because I was an alcoholic. I refused to sleep in the street. I wasn't going to get put in jail for sleeping in the street. Every day I used to get up, get dressed, and go out to look for a job and stuff like that. And then when I found out about Jim Noble's restaurant and the church services that they have here, and I introduced myself.
It started like a rumble, growing louder every day. The same kind of trouble, always find you.
It is a 501c faith-based, not-for-profit restaurant. That's unusual. In fact, there's not been many done like this, I don't think. And it really has two parts. One is to help raise money from a non-profit status, and we're going to give all the profits away to help feed the poor. Secondly, King's Kitchen Restoration Program, which is a discipleship, life-changing program to help people get back on their feet through on-the-job training, obviously, Bible study, discipleship. Even though it's a ministry, we also are a restaurant, and we have to compete, and we have to execute, and we have to run the restaurant right, or the whole thing would fall. And this is not an easy industry to be in anyway. Restaurant business is tough.
In front of you, beside you. I came here and I volunteered here, and they threw me as a dishwasher. I've never worked in a restaurant before. Cole, we got a 4-time getting up. And it shocked everybody how fast I pick it up. When I put my mind to something that I really want to do, I know I could do it. I'll come with a big tray. Thank you for calling King's Kitchen this afternoon. This is James. How can I assist you? One day, Chef Jesse came up to me. He goes, we all came together and we're hiring you. I said, you're kidding. He goes, you start tomorrow. Would you like me to take your plate from you?
Thank you, yes.
Was everything okay?
It was.
Please come back. And when I started working here, they worked with my hours down at the shelter. They saved me a bed. And when I got my first paycheck, I looked in the paper and saw this place and took the bus down there, filled out the application, and there was a 1-bedroom apartment ready. And that was the last time the shelter saw me. When I got off the bus, I put my hand in my pocket and I had the keys to my own place. And when I opened up the door, I was like, you're home. And the first thing that I did, I called up my 2 sisters and my brother, and your brother is just fine. Your brother's fine. And my sister goes, you're out of the shelter? I said, yep. I said, I got my own place and everything. Adam, these are the only dishes that don't match over here. 8 months later, I'm still here. I'm the head busboy. Please come again. I love working. I don't stop. When I come in the morning, I get here an hour before my shift starts. How you doing? Good. How's everything? Good. My income right now, I would make in a year between about $11,000 to $15,000. People in poverty live in poverty-stricken areas. People who have money don't even go close to where those people live. You think they worry about who's living on the street? No, because they were never part of it. And if you're not part of it, why think about it? Try to climb the ladder by yourself sometimes. It's hard. I don't judge people, and I hope that people don't judge me, and that's how I've always lived.
I think hope is important for people who are in poverty because that's the only thing that's going to stop them from making a desperate move to make life better. If you have no hope and you don't think Superman's coming, you may jump yourself. And when I say jump, I don't mean killing yourself. I mean making rash decisions and doing things that may be even uncharacteristic for yourself, but because you're so desperate.
We cannot be silent while that happens. We cannot say, oh, well, that's on them. No, systems need to be broken to stop poverty too. Policy needs to change in order to stop poverty. And there need to be people in place who can properly change policy to help poverty. At the same time, there are people who are poor who need to know that there's a way out of this and need to know that they are more than their poverty. Because I believe that if we tell people that they are better than they think they are, that they will do better than they think they can.
This is not the end of us. We will shine like stars.
Every other day, you'll see like gang violence going on outside of the school or kids fighting. But what really keep me calm is either drawing or playing basketball.
Why? You look pretty healthy, so that means you're eating.
We bring young people in, and most of them have already either dropped out or are in situations where they're not doing well in school.
My life story. Where I come from,
This component is around adding creativity to their life. Creativity and dignity, the two key words here, and saying, okay, you have not only something to learn in terms of math and science towards getting your GED, but you have a story to tell. You've seen something. And what I want to do is help you tell that story. We want to help you tell that story because once you can tell that story, you can own your life. You own your identity. So helping them to tell those stories is one way of giving them hope in the midst of what they're going through. Poor is not what you are. Poor is part of what you are, and it's a situation that can change.
This is not the end. This is not the end of this. We will open our eyes wide, wider. This is not our last. This is not our last breath. We will open our minds.
I started a nonprofit called Born to Be Light, and I came up with a pledge. Born to Be Light is a nonprofit organization dedicated to the aggressive promotion of nonviolence. And they take the pledge, and the pledge is right on the front, and it says, I wear this band to take a stand against violence. I pledge to be the change you see in my home and community.